I didn't even see it. The comments were probably coming in after that because they're a little bit delayed on my end. So the comments were probably coming in a little bit too late, and I probably was too quick to jump the gun. And yeah, but it is what it is. I don't mind restarting. I really don't. Let's see. Not only that, but then that way it gives me an opportunity to save that live that I did. All right, let's see. I'm going to try and record this live. Hey, welcome back. So I was trying to prevent my live from going down, and evidently it was a fake warning or something, I guess, is what I was told. So you can't read the chat, bro. No, it was delayed. So I mean, when you're live, I think what happens is the comments come in a few moments after. But I can read it. Oh, you mean with this background? I gotcha. I can read it. Let's see, moderators can do this too. You can't read because of the text. I got you what you're saying. I'm going to try and... I always have a hard time for whatever reason fixing this when I get something up in the background. Interact. Let's see. So part of the reason why I wanted to do this too was because look at the comment that I have highlighted, if you could see it. It basically says, no one forced him, hundreds of people stitched it. And I'll fix that. I'll take that off of here now. But the reason I pulled that one up was because that just shows the mob mentality. They were talking about Rabbi at that point. They were talking about Rabbi when Rabbi said, nobody, here, there you go. They were talking about Rabbi when Rabbi was basically, Rabbi was saying that about the video about Moses. He was saying that everybody stitched it, or Mr. Lau was saying Rabbi stitched it along with hundreds of other people. That's the mob mentality. That's the kind of shit that I've been calling out and what I've been trying to address. And so the reason that you hear me talking about the Fold or IBTL or other groups is because those are the people that engage in the mob mentality. And what I'm seeing right now is iCreeps group is doing the same thing. And when I see iCreeps group, it's the people that were in those lives today. That is the mob mentality. iCreep is setting false narratives. She's trying to say that some of my statements were different than what they really were because that sets a false narrative. And then a bunch of people go, oh, wow, did he really say that? And they believe it because 5 other people chime in and go, yup. That's what he said. That's what he said. So people believe it because they're taking a statement. They're hearing what they want. They're twisting just 1 or 2 words or maybe 5 words, giving it a whole new meaning. And that's what people run with. So... I had a black fisher tell me that she experienced racism. And she was trying to explain to me that because of her religion and her husband and other things that she experienced racism. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. I've had people call me things, but that doesn't, I'm still a white man at the end of the day. I don't know. With this person right here, what do you guys see? Just out of curiosity. Hey, Sage. I'm curious who's in here. There's only a few people in here now. 1 follower, you're getting muted or blocked. Not. Let's see. Yeah, I think some of these are Jenny Taurus because she always seems to be desperate to stalk people. Like, tell me you have no life without telling me when you're literally stalking people left and right. I mean, she's so desperate for attention, it's sad. Seriously. I almost feel bad for Jenny Torres. And I could do to her the things that she's done to me. Hey, Red, do you want to go live? I don't know if you had anything to say or questions about any of the stuff that's been spread around today. If you guys don't mind sharing this out, like I said, I'd really love Blaze to come in here because I would like an opportunity to explain to him why I won't be going into his lives anymore. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to be going into anybody's lives anymore. And it's nothing against him. Like, I actually really care for him and a lot of people. I've just grown to care for a lot of people. But first and foremost, my peace of mind is always going to be more important than anything on this app, first of all. Secondly, like, as a gay man, I've been made to feel unwelcome in spaces that I shouldn't have been made to feel that way. And I'm sure a lot of people can understand what it's like to be made to feel unwelcome. But when it's your own family sometimes, because that has happened, just because you're this or that, I've learned I'm not going to go anywhere where I'm not welcomed. And if somebody invites me and their guests are making me feel unwelcome and they don't speak up about it and they're watching it, or if other people don't, and they see it, to me, silence is violence. I'm out. I'm not going to stick around where I'm not wanted, period. Why would I? There's plenty of other spaces where I could be. Hell, I enjoy my own company better than being someplace where I'm not welcomed or where some people are being hateful just to be hateful. That's just the reality. I don't need to be places. I was going places to support others. I was going into areas to support others and to, help elevate their voices. And if I'm not welcome there, I'm not going to go there. And it's not like Blaze has never made me feel unwelcomed. He's never done that. He's been very decent to me and very kind to me. Like, he knows the situation. He knows, how we've met and everything. So same with everybody else. They know my experiences with them. I don't feel like he's ever read into anything. I don't think he's ever made an accusation. He's actually come to me and asked me questions, and that's the proper thing to do. Is if you think or you hear something, go to that person, not the other people that you're hearing the rumors from. Go to that person. Did you say this? Or ask the other person for proof of what you actually said and get the full thing. That's why when I posted that bit from Moses' live, I posted like more than 5 minutes worth. I just sped it up to 1 point, I think it was like 1.3 to make it less than 5 minutes worth. Hey, Sobi. How you doing? Sobi, you're welcome to come up too. Anybody's welcome to come up if they have questions for me. If anybody's heard anything about what's happened today, or the bullshit that's been going on the past few days, if you have questions for me, if you've heard something, you want clarification, anything like that, you're welcome to come up. If Blaze is on, I would love to speak with him, but it's definitely, I don't want to pressure anybody. I just would love to talk with him, and I don't want to do it on his live because I don't want other people I don't want to be disrespectful to him, his time, his live, his space, and I want to try and avoid any further issues. And it's not him. He's not causing any issues. He's not at all. But I just wanted to invite him over here kind of before I fully bow out, which will be in the upcoming days. Like I said, I've gotten a lot of documentation for a good documentary, and it should be interesting. But if nobody, it's amazing how everybody wanted to talk with me, but it's only if I go to their space and put up with. It's funny how people only want me to go to a million questions. Hey, Red, you're welcome to come up.
Hey, so I had a couple of questions.
Yeah, do me a favor, though.
Do you call iCreep homophobic or transphobic?
I don't believe I ever said those words to her. I don't believe I ever said one of those things to her. I think she's taking something I said and twisting it to fit her narrative. Ask her, do me a favor, ask her to
Well,
show you, because
I have the comment that you left for her. You said,
okay,
"Don't
read
call
it.
me honey. You're using this song twice, addressing me. You know what you're doing. Your phobia is showing, but use any excuse for phobia. Like you're calling her phobic in some sort.
So giving her back the energy that she's been giving to me is what I would call that.
What energy did she give you in that aspect
In which aspect are you referring to?
to call her phobic?
Okay, well, calling her
Whether it be
phobic,
homophobic or transphobic, like what?
calling her phobic and saying that certain things or behaviors are phobic is different, first of all. So
Yeah.
people can say or do phobic things without necessarily being phobic themselves, because a lot of times people don't even fully understand. A lot of times people don't even fully understand what is or isn't homophobic. Like, I've literally had people argue with me thinking that homophobia is only the fear of homosexuals. And I'm like, oh, wow, really? That's all you think it is? So those people may not be homophobic, but they might say or do homophobic things without even realizing it. And she's been trying to give off this energy, trying to accuse me of a lot of racism and stuff like that without anything really other than her twisted narratives. So when she gets energy returned back to her, she can't handle it. That's the issue, in my opinion. So if people don't like the energy that they're
Maybe I'm
getting,
just not understanding, because what did she do to you exactly to make you feel like she was any type of phobic? Maybe I'm just not getting it. I
so I
don't
think
know.
I think part of it was the way that she came over to my live immediately after Moses's, and she
Uh-huh.
was essentially defending him. Although she said she doesn't like him, she was defending the narrative and the topic. And even when I heard her talking today, her big issue seems to be stuck on the fact that I used the term cisgendered in a sentence. I never called anybody cisgendered, but they're twisting that narrative into trying to make it seem like I did. I'm just gonna time out for a second. Sorry, it's 9:10. I'm gonna try and give other people a chance, but I'm gonna take one person and one question at a time. So, Sherry, if you don't mind, I will definitely let you up in the box and talk with you. 100%. I just want to, for calmness, for some kind of organization and structure, I want to take one person and one question at a time to be respectful, and so that it's not chaotic, if that makes sense. But I absolutely welcome you up here. So Red, I'm sorry. So she was, when she came over to my live, she was stuck on that, and again, she still seems to be stuck on that. To me, now this is my opinion, and none of you have to agree with this, but as a member of the LGBTQIA plus community and a gay man, I do feel that when people get offended, offended by the term cisgendered, to me, I feel that there are some underlying phobias within them. And the reason I say that is because they aren't taking the time to listen to people from the community, multiple people from the community, not just one or two that agree with their logic or their thinking, but listen to multiple people, especially from the trans community. I'm not part of the trans community. I consider myself a cisgendered gay male, but on the same token, I feel like they're not even willing to listen to people that are trying to be spokesperson or advocates for trans people. They're not even doing proper research on their word. They're looking for excuses to be offended by an adjective because it's not a slur word. It's not a word derived out of hate. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't feel like that's the case at all, because
Whoops, I'm sorry. I muted you by accident and I meant to mute me. I'm sorry. Please unmute yourself. I meant to mute myself.
okay.
I'm sorry.
I get your way of thinking, and you being a member of the LGBTQIA community, that's cool, but you're not a woman. So
You're right, but that has
being a
nothing to do with
woman and being called cis, right? That some women just aren't okay with that. That's our boundary, you know.
Okay, time out.
We wait. I didn't interrupt you, Joe.
Okay.
I didn't.
I know, but I just want to point something out for a second. It has nothing to do with whether you're a male or woman, or a
Well,
male or female.
but it's a biological woman, and but what men fail to realize is that women are losing, a lot of different aspects because of this. Like, we're just targeted all over. But I don't feel like that makes anybody homophobic because they don't want to be called cisgendered. I
So
don't. So I don't
I
agree with that.
I need to
So we can
pause.
definitely agree to disagree on that aspect,
I need to
because
pause
that,
you. I need to pause you just for a second because
yeah.
it's not homophobic. I said transphobic. Those are two completely different things.
That's what I
Um,
meant.
so, and see, that's where there's so much misunderstanding from people that really don't even truly understand the community, because they're thinking they're thinking that this word somehow is targeted towards women. When I actually used the word, I wasn't calling anybody it. I just used the word, and I actually used it towards men. But women were saying you're targeting women. I'm like, wait a minute. I said man. I never even said woman. But they heard what they want. You know
Well,
what I
because
mean? Like,
we're the ones are losing out on everything.
how?
I don't want to get into that because it just is what it is, and like I said, we can agree to disagree on that aspect. I have trans people in my life, and I love them dearly. But they respect my boundaries to not, call me a cis woman. You
And
know
I
what I
have
mean?
too. Have
But
I ever called you a cis woman?
no, no.
Exactly. And guess what? I'm going to respect your boundaries, and I'm not going to do that to you.
But you also told them that it was silly for their way of thinking, and you're
Time out.
calling I creep phobic because of her way of thinking and reiterating that whole situation. So that's
Time.
not right in that
Time out.
in that general sense.
Time out for a second, though. They asked me a specific question, and I answered it honestly. I didn't just come right out and said, "Oh, you guys are silly for thinking that." He asked me a specific question, and my answer was, "Well, to be honest, I personally feel it's silly for people to be offended by that." Now, if you're going to ask me a question and then get offended by my answer because you don't like the way I answer it, that's completely different than trying to make it seem like I'm just coming out and saying, "Oh, you all are being silly," because that's not what happened at all. Go
Well,
back
yeah,
and watch that live.
I wasn't in Moses's live.
Okay. It
I was in there for a little bit, but it was just too much.
But see
But
what I mean? Like how the stories and how the things get twisted, because people will have you believing that I was just being disrespectful to them and saying, "Oh, you're just being silly," when that wasn't the case at all. I literally got asked a specific question, and I don't remember the exact question, but from what I understand, iCreep has the live recorded, so maybe she'll post it and people can watch it. But I was asked a specific question, and I even prefaced it because I knew what was coming. I said, okay, I said, you're asking me a question. I want to be able to give you my honest answer, but I don't want a whole mess of people jumping on me. Because when I say something like feeling attacked, that's when you have 5, 6, 8 people talking over you, jumping on you, making accusations about what you just said, the way you said it, the meaning that you have in your, like they already have it in their minds, what you meant by it, what you're feeling, what you're thinking. They're putting out your thoughts, your intentions without even asking you.
you
And
should have just dropped out, Joe. You don't,
I
don't
know.
you don't. You should have stayed. But
Well,
I
okay,
just have
shoulda,
one
woulda,
more
coulda though.
question. I just
Yeah,
have
yeah,
one
yeah.
more question, and
Yeah,
I
you're
will
welcome.
gladly drop down so
No, you're
anybody else
welcome.
can
Listen,
to get
You're
up.
being super respectful. Like, as long as people are
Uh,
respectful in my life, you could ask me as many as you want.
we said one person, one question. So
No, no, I just said I'm going to address one person at a time and one question at a
okay.
time. So in other words, you ask me a question, I answer. Now you ask me another question, I'll answer. You could ask me another question, I'll answer. That's what I meant. Sorry.
So in Pinups Live earlier, did you tell that group of black women that they haven't experienced police brutality or somebody
Nope.
taken by police?
Nope. What I said was, I don't know if any of you have experienced losing a loved one from police brutality. Do you see how that was manipulated and twisted into letting you think that I said something very problematic? Because if I said it the way that you're wording it, that would have been problematic as fuck. And as somebody who has lost somebody from police brutality, I would never say that, especially to a person of color, because most of my friends that are black, the majority of them have lost somebody due to police brutality. Not all of them,
Yeah,
but a
because
lot of them.
that definitely irks my soul because
Well, it would me too.
us being white, we can't speak like that
I
to people of
agree.
color, and
I agree.
that's
And I didn't.
crossing a major line in my
I
book.
agree. And I didn't. But do you see how somebody took something I said, twisted it just a little bit to put out a whole new narrative and has a whole mess of people believing that I said something problematic when the wording that I used was completely different from what they're putting out. And that's why I have a problem with iCreep. She's being manipulative as fuck. And anybody that's going along with that, either they're hearing what they want to, they're caught up in their emotions, and they should go back and rewatch their own live, because you're going to hear what I said. And don't chop it up, play the whole thing. Because I also said, I don't know what kind of jobs you all have, but I have to make up my time from my job. So if I take too much time away now, I have to work later. I would like to be able to have a conversation with you all about this later. That's what I said, but they're turning it into saying, they're trying to make it seem like I said something like none of you had jobs or something like that. Again, it's manipulation, taking words and twisting them to fit their own narratives. I'm not going to rock with people like that. I'm not going to roll with people
Do
like that at
you
all.
feel like what you said, because it was the heat of the moment, you might not have said it the way you did now? You might have said it in like a different type of tone to where they would have felt like you were saying it the other way?
Considering I had probably several people asking me several questions and putting words in my mouth at that time, I'm sure I was frustrated, but I also know I didn't say what they're accusing me of saying, and that they manipulated the words into fitting their own narrative. And as far as I'm concerned, if you do that and I see you doing that a few times, I'm not ever going to go live with you or associate with you again. And that's where iCreep is at. Like, I will talk with Pinup, because I think Pinup was actually caught up in emotions, and I think she was feeling a lot of kind of ways. And I heard her story, and I feel horrible
Yeah,
about
I
what
was about
happened
to
with her
say
mom.
that I
But
definitely feel
yeah,
like
but
you
look at how
owe
people.
her a major apology in that, and for that, because whether you meant it how they said it or you said it the way you said
No,
it, it was still said in a way that really
no.
hurt that woman.
Right, Red, with all due respect, you have to go back and listen to what was actually said and ask them to play the whole part for you to hear it. Because I will apologize if I feel I did something wrong. But if somebody is taking something I say and they are being manipulative and they are twisting it, on the same token, while I feel bad about her real life experiences, they have done nothing but been disrespectful to mine and dehumanized my friend and made me feel like my experiences are invalid and unwarranted. Like, just because I'm a
When did
man.
they downplay your friend?
Oh, iCreep was in there
When did that
talking.
happen?
iCreep was in that same live that you're talking about my friend saying, I did my own research and this and that. Like, I'm sorry, she's trying to make it seem like others, like essentially, there's also this false narrative being put out that she was putting out. It's trying to make it seem like I said something like, I can't even remember the way it was worded, but basically they're trying to say that I was saying that it happens to gay people more, that I was discrediting others. It's like, it was nothing like what they were making it out to be. Ask them to see that live. Ask them to post and play
Oh,
that
because
live.
you were comparing
No, I
Black
wasn't though.
lives to the
But I wasn't. But I wasn't. But
LGBTQIA.
I wasn't, Red. I wasn't. And you need to show me if you're going to make accusations like that, because that's
I'm just trying to figure out from the stuff that I've heard. I
right.
wasn't in the live earlier either,
But
but
do you hear what you just said? Do you hear what you
it
just
was
said?
a question because
Right.
that's what I
No,
heard. So did you?
you did. But see, you didn't pose it as a question. You posed it
Okay,
as
but
a
I'm telling you,
statement.
it's a question. So.
And then you followed up by telling me that's what I heard. So what you're doing is repeating something you heard as a fact, which is part of the mob mentality and part of the problematic BS that I've been trying to call out.
It's okay, wifey.
So I don't know what,
I,
Nessie, I
I,
don't
I
know what
didn't
you're
word
saying.
it properly. That was on
And
me.
that's
But
okay. Listen,
I don't know.
I
I
don't mean
just
any
feel like
disrespect, Red. Like, I appreciate the way you're approaching it. Like, Nessie, maybe I'm not wording it right either.
well, I'm
But
gonna
no,
drop on that
I'm not going to.
accord, Joe.
Anybody that thinks that I'm comparing it, that's something that they're putting into their own minds, in my opinion, because I'm not comparing it. But don't negate and don't discredit the facts, because yes, I said, do I have solid proof about this officer killing him for being gay? No, I don't. But on the same token, was there any other reason for him to do what he did and target my friend, especially considering he wasn't committing any crimes, especially considering that as soon as his aunt revealed to him that he was gay, that James was gay, that is the very moment that he started with the aggressions and started demanding him out of the water. He wasn't breaking any laws. The officer had no reason to ask him out of the water as soon as he found out he was gay. How is that comparing it to anything? Just because I'm telling my story about my friend and what I believe happened doesn't mean I'm comparing it, doesn't mean I'm negating, because I truly do understand that black people are targeted by police 3 to 4 times more than white people. I fully understand that. I fully understand that gay people, they're not going to know unless they're told. But I also understand that it's white supremacist ideology that we should have to live in the closet or that we should have to hide who we are. So when people put out that narrative, oh, well, any kind of indication that we should somehow have to be in the closet or not be able to be comfortable, because some people you can look at and tell. In fact, when I was a little kid, everybody knew because of my mannerisms and everything else. But born in 1969 and growing up in the 70s in a red state with a machismo dad and machismo brothers, you can damn well bet they had to mold me into the way that society would accept me, because I got told constantly, don't be a little girl, don't be a sissy, don't be this, don't be that. Right? No son of mine's going to be this. No son of mine's going to be that. But you guys a lot of times don't even realize how you invalidate the experiences of other people because you're only looking at yourself sometimes. I don't do that, but people want to say I am, or say I'm doing this, or say I'm doing that, when I'm actually not. And if you take the time to stop and talk with me, you'll realize a lot of times that I agree with a lot of the talking points that most people are saying. People are just projecting. They're projecting things into making it seem like my words are different than what they actually are, that they're projecting my thoughts without asking me. They're trying to tell me and tell other people what my thoughts are, or why I did something. Oh, he did this because of this. Really? Did you ever ask me why I did that? Did you ever ask me why I said something? No, you're assuming and you're putting it out there as if it's fact, and then you've got friends spreading it. That's the mob mentality. So no, I'm not comparing it. It doesn't negate the fact that my friend was targeted and that there was no other reason for the officer to target him. It doesn't negate the fact that he was taken out of this world by an officer and he wasn't committing any crime. And that officer took 10 minutes because he didn't have a pew-pew. He took the time to actually pummel him. And his autopsy here, let me see if I could pull it up. His autopsy says homicide due to complications of asphyxia and blunt trauma. It said homicide. He was put on a paid leave and later let go when that report came out. And then because it was Florida, because we all know how corrupt cops are down there, he was able to, oh, Red, you dropped out. He was able to get rehired somewhere else. Red, if you had any other questions, you can definitely ask. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. Sherry, you're welcome to come up again. I just want to address one question at a time. So if you ask me a question, just give me a chance to answer it, please. And then you could ask another one if that's okay.
Hi, Unleash.
Hello, you can just call me Joe.
Okay, Joe. First of all, let me say I am not here to be disrespectful. Second of all, I feel for your friend, and I feel for you being his friend and being taken in such a brutal way. It's something that I have experienced myself
I'm so
that
sorry.
I discussed earlier. And I'm not here to talk over you. I'm here to listen, and I'm here to get an understanding of you.
I appreciate you for that.
And I hope you get an understanding of me.
I appreciate that and your approach, and I'm really sorry about your friend as well.
Well, it was my uncle, but yeah, it's something that, a lot of us has gone through, unfortunately.
I know.
It shouldn't be what it is, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, my first question to you, Joe, and please, I do not mean this by any disrespect, but are you neurodivergent? Because
I don't
I
think
am.
I don't take any disrespect to that question, and I have been completely honest with people when I'm asked this question, because a lot of people, especially people that know me, have asked me this question. So I'm gonna answer it, but give me a chance for other people to just
Absolutely.
just say this one thing. Oh God, I can't remember his name. He's an older gentleman. It's on the tip of my tongue. He's an actor. He's like didn't even know that he was autistic until he was about 67, I think, or 65. I have not gone to the doctors and gotten an official diagnosis. I have spoken with my primary care doctor about it after I did the official test online. The official test said that I think it was like an 83% chance of having, now I know they don't use this term anymore, but it was like an 83 or 87% chance of having Asperger's. They'd have to go back and look at the test.
Yes.
That being said, even if I didn't fall into that category of having Asperger's, the chances of me being on the spectrum of autism was pretty significant. Now, if I do have it, and I say if because again, my doctor basically said to me, well, that's the same test that I would give you but I haven't gone for the official test from my psychologist or anything. But if I am, I would think that I'm what they would consider highly functioning because of my job and because of everything else and how
Right.
do I struggle with a lot of things? Yeah. And one of the things I struggle with a lot of times is I don't always word things properly. And sometimes I don't understand things as easily as other people may say them. I might take something different than what somebody means. And a lot of people might take what I say differently from what I mean. So I've had multiple instances where people will come back to me after I say something and they'll be like, wait a minute, did you just mean this? And I'll be like, oh my God, no. And I'll go back and I'll be like, oh, well, I could really see how you see that I might have meant it that way, but no, this is how I meant it. So again, just by asking questions instead of assuming, people can get a better understanding of people overall, in my opinion. But I appreciate that question. I don't take offense to it.
Okay, because I asked because I'm also neurodivergent. Okay, and I see things in black and white. There's no gray area. Either it's up, down, left, right, diagonal to diagonal, sun up, sun down, moonlight, sunshine. And if I can assume, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you're kind of the same way. Am I
No,
correct?
no, no, not at all. A lot of times I'm actually very opposite of that a lot of times.
So you do operate in gray area?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, in a lot of aspects. I think I probably used to be much more of a black and white person than I am, but I also got PTSD from, well, from a few things, but one of the biggest things was from actually, believe it or not, a car accident back in 2016 where I thought I was going over a cliff with my dogs and it triggered a lot. It triggered a lot of like suppressed memories coming back. It triggered a lot. What's that?
No, I was just saying.
So I'm pretty sure she knows that. When I was a child, my dad was a much different man than he was when he passed away. But as a child, he was pretty abusive in a lot of ways, and he was a cop. And I mean, I've seen entire police forces be racist, homophobic, misogynistic, prejudiced, like just all of it, like the entire police force all together, because they used to all come over our house. And my family, the way that I describe them, was very much like, I don't know how old you are, but very much like All in the Family, like Archie and Edith Bunker. My dad was one way and my mom was the complete opposite. My mom's side of the family was so anti-racist and so ahead. Like my grandmother, who was born in 1902 and 1903 on my mom's side, was so ahead of her time. She was like the Betty White, you know what I mean? She was so loving of everybody. And those are the people that I actually gravitated to in my family, were those people, because I knew ever since I could remember, I knew I was different, but I also knew that my father and my brothers and a lot of people didn't approve of the way I was, and that I had to try and pretend to be something different from who I really was ever since I could remember. Ever since I could remember, I had to pretend to be somebody. And I finally had a gun put to my head, a pew-pew put to my head outside of a nightclub, and I decided to come out to my mom because I didn't want them finding out from the wrong way, you know?
I totally understand. And, before I started conversing with you, I wanted to get to know you a little bit. I don't need to know your life story, but I wanted to get to know something about you because, like I said, I'm neurodivergent as well, and I had to learn to see things in a gray area. So, that's what prompted the questions that I had.
It's hard, huh?
And I'm also part of the community. I'm the A. I'm asexual. And, I do sometimes feel like I am a forgotten part of the community. So I do sit on the outside and I do watch everything, and I try to be rational and real with my thought process. And, so like I said, I didn't want to come. I typically come in lives hot. And I wanted to just get to know you and you get to know me a little bit, not a whole lot of information, but some sort of foundation so I can have this conversation with you. Because I don't want you to think that any question that I ask you, I'm coming from a bad place, because I'm not. I still see 75% of life black and white, but I have learned to see some gray. So I do operate from things mostly from a black and white space. So I just wanted to make that known before, I started asking you questions. I didn't want to take you off guard. I want you to be comfortable talking to me.
I am.
Okay.
And I don't even think I meant this happens sometimes. This is probably part of that. If I am neurodivergent, you asked me that question about black and white and I started to answer and I got sidetracked. But my whole point about like therapy with PTSD is that the therapy that I had after that PTSD in 2016, I went for therapy for a few years because it was hard because I was having a hard time driving and I have to drive for my job a lot. So I had to take time off work and everything, but the therapy that I had is what helped me to look at things in a more gray manner. Like I was very black and white for a long time. And I'm still like, every day is progression, right? Like you can go to therapy, but it's not like you're just going to flip a switch and all of a sudden you're better. It's progression and it takes time and it's constant work with a lot of people from the outside judging and not understanding or not even trying to understand sometimes. So
I totally understand.
Right? Sherry,
yeah,
Marie?
Cherie Marie.
Cherie Marie.
My dad used to sing My Sharia more so to me because my real name is Cheryl, but he would sing that to me, so that's why I have the name. And just like you, I suffer from PTSD. We actually, Joe, we do have a lot in common.
I really appreciate you being here and the way that you've approached me. And I will say that from what I saw on the lives earlier, I wouldn't have thought that you would have been this kind to me, but I very much appreciate you and your approach and asking questions and everything. So, and you know what, as far as being the A in our community, you are still a part of the big umbrella community and you are valid. And I've got several friends that are the A's in the alphabet. So don't ever feel like you're alone. You're not.
Yeah.
Like
I don't want
we're
you
all
to feel
people.
alone either. There's people that think normally, and then there's people that have a different mindset. And it seems to be that me and you are two people that we have a different kind of thought process. And you know what? Maybe everyone don't understand, but that's okay.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
okay,
It is.
And one thing that I've noticed about you, and if I can be honest,
Of course.
because we operate in a different way, we get very upset and we get very offended. Sometimes, not all the time,
Truth.
but
No, you're right.
we do get that way when we are misunderstood, because when you're talking with someone with a normal mindset, they don't think like we do, right? And one thing that I've noticed from watching you in lives is that you do take some sort of offense
Sometimes you're right.
because we think differently than they do. And I'm not gonna lie, it can be frustrating. And one thing about I Creep thinks a different way that you do. She's figuring out life. She has her own mindset. And one thing that I want you to do is give her grace.
I'll be honest with. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No problem. Because we have to understand that not everybody think like us. So in our life, we have to give a lot of grace. And it was pretty upsetting to me, the things that you say about iCream. She's a good girl. She is a good person. You guys just don't agree. And two,
If I could have a
was in
chance
the
to
life of
address.
pinup.
Oh, go on. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I just don't want to forget what you're saying but go on. I want to hear you out.
I'm going to let you talk because we can easily forget what our point. So I'm going to let you go ahead and speak.
So with first of all, with regards to iCreep, I woke up this morning to check to see if she replied to my question, because she, in a post that I saw last night, she was accusing me of lying. And I'm like, what was I lying about? So I woke up this morning, I'm on Pacific Standard Time, and I went to her post to see if she replied. And the next thing I see is her accusing me of her reporting her, which I absolutely did not do. And so I woke up this morning. Now, I know I get reported all the time, and I've got several reports today. And she was making this video accusing me of reporting her and saying, basically making a threat like, oh, you're going to lose your whole page. And I'm like, oh, wow. First of all, I'm being accused of something I didn't do. Secondly, you still haven't answered the question about what you think I'm lying about. And I've also had, so I know that there was somebody that I called out as a blackfisher who, she got caught. She would report even her own page. She got caught creating accounts and then going and commenting on her own page and talking to herself from like a troll account, making this whole narrative, making it seem like she was being targeted by people, making it seem like she was being reported by other people when it was her doing all this stuff. So when I see behavior like that, I do automatically question, okay, is this person being genuine or are they being manipulative? Because like I said, I just want to say this and then I'll shut up. Okay. Like I said, I don't know iCreep, I really don't, but I've seen at this point, I've seen her take my words and be manipulative with them multiple times to the point where I'm going to say this, I don't hate her. I don't wish her any ill will. I hope that she grows from that and realizes, a way to be able to look back on herself and take some constructive criticism back instead of being like a lot of us were at 19 and thinking we know everything and we can do no wrong, because that's the impression I'm getting. I don't know if that's her or not.
I understand.
I don't know if that's her or not. But at this point, I feel like it's I honestly feel like at this point, I don't care to interact with her anymore for quite some time, if ever again, because I feel like she's shown me her true colors. And if anybody's going to take things I say and twist them to fit a narrative to paint me out to be an ugly person, that's not the type of person I want to be around. And if the other people are going to believe that shit blindly without coming to me and talking to me, especially people that I've had good conversations and connections with, honestly, they can go away too, because either that or they can come and talk to me, one or the other. That's part of the reason why I opened this up tonight, was to give people an opportunity to come and talk with me, because there were comments from people that I've grown to care for that I'm like, wow, you're really just going to believe this crap blindly without even talking with me? Like, okay, fine, if that's who you want to be and you want to believe things, you obviously wanted to believe those things about me. That's how I felt.
Well, first and foremost, let me say this about iCreep. iCreep, I love her like a daughter. She's actually a lovely person. And the things that she has told you, said to you and did because that's her truth. And this is why I wanted to know, starting out, if you were a neurodivergent. I wanted to understand how your mind worked and see if your mind operated kind of like mine. And you did give the year that you were born, so I'm guessing you're about 54, 55?
Yep, exactly. Nope, 54. I just turned 54 in February.
Okay, and I'm 44 years old, so you're about a decade older than me. Okay,
Not too far off.
yeah, not too far off. But you know, she comes from a different generation, and what she said, she fully believes. And honestly, you know, just watching the interaction between you and iCreep, in my opinion, I can honestly say I think you're wrong about iCreep. She's a lovely girl. She has so much. She has done things that I wish my children have done. She's phenomenal.
But sure,
Have you done your research on iCreep to see what type of woman she is right now? Because honestly, she's phenomenal. She's phenomenal.
Sherry Marie, though, honestly, I don't feel like she gave me that opportunity. I feel like she misjudged me and never took the time to get to know me. And her, as soon as she had the opportunity to talk with me, and I said, okay, you could come up. I don't know you, especially didn't even know who she was by the screen name change. But even if I had, like if I had known it was iCreep, and this is no offense to her, I still wouldn't have known much about her at all, because again, I started going into lives to support Blaze and then to support Blaze and Polisa, and I just kind of met a lot of different people all at the same time. Some of those people reached out to me, had different interactions with me, took the time to get to know me. She didn't, and she made a lot of assumptions about me and then projected a lot and just started this hate campaign against me. So she never gave me an opportunity to really get to know me before she started passing judgment on me and throwing hate at me. Do you see what I'm saying?
I understand totally what you're saying, but Joe, we are older.
I didn't even know how old she was until yesterday.
Grace, they don't know. Even though our generation, we messed up a lot of things, you know, and we learned from it, right?
True.
But we have to teach not only teach, and I'm not telling you to teach anybody anything. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to understand the fact that we have more experience. So it's up to us, right, to have grace and try to learn about the people that we are interacting with. Like I said, I love iCreep. I bow down to her. She reminds me a lot of myself. She's a good person.
How could I do that though, when she literally, like, she asked me a question in my life, and I'm waiting. I think you have to wait 48 hours to be able to post the live or save the live from your archives. and it hasn't been 48 hours yet.
But
I think
you
that's
do that by being an adult.
no, but what I mean is, how can I do that when I say, okay, you could come up into my space, but you have to be respectful. And then she's asking me questions, not giving me the time to answer when I ask her politely. And I'm saying, wait, hold on. She's in my live now. Keep in mind, she's in the box in my live. And I'm like, hold on, let me answer. Hold on. And she's going, no. So I pop her on mute and I say, don't project out my thoughts. And I answer the question because she wasn't letting me. So I answer it anyway. And then I take her off mute and I say, okay, now you can come off mute and ask me whatever questions you have. I said, but don't project my thoughts and give me time to answer one question at a time. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, right? She comes off mute and immediately she gets mad at me and says, you silenced the black woman. That, first of all, I didn't even know for sure one way or another her age, what she looked like, if she was black, if she was white with a southern accent. I'm not assuming. I'm treating her as I would everybody else based off of how she's treating me, how she's behaving. That's it. That's all I'm judging her on. But she turned it around and turned it into something else that it wasn't really about. And then she left my live and said she was going to go have her own life. She ran from mine, got offended, and ever since then she's been doing a hate campaign against me. So how could I even try to get to know her?
Okay, so you figured out yesterday, right? By what you said, you figured out her age, okay?
Yeah.
Now, today, you went up in Pinups Live. And like I said, I got there late, but I have to admit, Joe, you just like the respect that I'm showing you in your life and how I'm talking to you and how I'm having an open space for dialogue with you. You did not do that in Pinups Live.
I agree. Can I address that? Why? Because I agree with you. I totally agree with you. You're right. But when I went, you said you got there late. When I first went into her live, here's how it happened, and she may not even know this part. You know how sometimes when you're on TikTok, all of a sudden you'll be in somebody's live? Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, I scrolled the FYP and lives all day long.
It's not even, I wasn't even scrolling. I literally must have hit something, and all of a sudden I'm in her live, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm like, they're talking about me. And I exited, and then I'm like, wait a minute, let me just go in there and at least address it, because I heard her say something like, oh, Joe's here, come on up. And I'm like, and it was even like playing in the background after I thought I exited out of there when I heard that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back in. And when I first joined, the first thing I said was, I'm on Pacific Coast time, basically, middle of my work day. I don't have much time. I was trying to inject because she was putting me on mute. She was literally putting me on mute and not really giving me too much of a chance. Oh, don't mute. Unless it's really vile or something, please don't mute people or delete their comments. I didn't even get a chance to see that. So moderators, I don't want to mute people unless they're being like really vile. But my point is that I was trying to just interject and say, please, can we set up a time later, because I don't have a lot of time now. And I was like immediately like yelled at and told to shush and stay quiet. I really didn't want to be sitting there in a box while iCreep was going on question after question after question, not even letting me address one at a time, and putting out statements saying I said things when she's really twisting what I said. To me, it was frustrating hearing somebody put out repeated false narratives and false statements that I didn't even say without even being given a chance to respond to one at a time, and they were piling up. And I had to sit there muted in her box, not even being given a chance to say, hey, remember I told you I don't have a lot of time, can we set up time later? That's all I wanted. And I was, yeah.
I'm so sorry to cut you off. That's not my intention.
You're super respectful, Sherry.
Yeah, and I try to be, and especially in hard conversations, I try to be, because that's the only way that you can be productive, right?
I appreciate you.
At the end of the day, you were the adult in the room, and you were talking to young Black women. Okay.
I don't know how old Pinup is at all. I thought she was. I mean, for me, it's hard to tell people's ages sometimes, and
you know what? All you can do, I know how old Pinup is, but I'm not going to repeat her age out of respect for her.
Totally cool.
Okay. I know how old pinup is, but if you deem someone a young adult, it is us.
I didn't
Well,
though.
you can, but in your mind, come on,
I
Joe.
honestly
You had
think,
an idea.
I mean, I would guess that, I mean, I'm sorry, it's hard to tell sometimes. I would guess
I
that pinup is
know.
probably sometime somewhere between, I'm just guessing. You don't have to tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I'm going to guess somewhere between 25, 30, maybe a little older, maybe a little younger. I don't
But
know.
with that knowledge, knowing that you are 53 and you're dealing with someone that you think that is between the ages 25 and 30, it's us as adults. It's up to us to teach anyone that's younger. Not, I keep saying teach, that's not really what I mean. But, it's up to us to conduct ourselves in a manner to where we can have a conversation with the younger generation. You thought pinup, I creep was from the younger generation. You already said that you figured out I creep's age yesterday. So the way that you came into this, to her life, okay, and like I said, I wasn't there at the very beginning, but it's just like how I am talking to you. We have to be careful on how we talk to people that we may not know their age, but we need to deem everyone, one as a person, one as an adult, one as a human. But we may be more experienced in life. And if you know that you're dealing with someone that's not in their 50s, see, I'm 44. I've learned and I've had experience, and this is why I know, this is why I'm talking to you the way that I am. Okay. And there's some things that you said in her life that was problematic. And it doesn't matter the context of what you said about people having jobs.
Oh
The
no, I
fact
didn't
that
say that. I didn't see again. Like, did you hear what I said about that though?
I
It
did, I
wasn't.
did.
It was just like basically trying to say, I don't know what kind of jobs you all have. In other words, like my job is very. That's the way I was explaining. If I take too much time out in the middle of my day, I have to make it up later, and I want to try and plan time for later. That was my whole
Get
point.
that.
Is I want to try and plan time for later. Can we do that? Can you just let me go so I can get back to work and we can pick this up later? I even said that. Like I want to table it for later.
Yeah, and I understand that. And as an adult, as the oldest person in the room, you had the opportunity to drop and let the conversation go.
So can I be honest with you?
Absolutely.
Actually, you know what? I don't want to do this on here. I will. How about this? If you don't mind, Sheree, send me as soon as you drop out. Send me a quick DM and just say, remind me why you didn't drop out, and I will remember enough with that to reply to you privately. I'm not going to put it in here, but when I explain it, I think you especially will understand it more than anybody.
Okay, I'm
Fair?
willing to do that.
Fair, and we can talk about it in DMs, or I would even give you my personal IG account, and we can talk on there. I have no problem
Absolutely.
with that. So I will
Absolutely.
definitely. I hope that's a respectable answer for you for now.
That is.
Okay,
But
thank you.
I just want to reiterate my point to where, when you, and like I said, go back to being neurodivergent. I know you haven't been tested. I know that, when it comes to that part of your life, that there's a lot of, you don't know for sure. And I get that. And I'm okay with that. I understand that because I've been there. But when you say certain things like, when you're mentioning Black people in jobs, when you are mentioning Black people in general, you really have to be very sensitive and you really have to be very careful, because what you said, even though it wasn't your intent, and we all understand impact versus intent, right?
Yeah, and I think if I said I don't know if you guys have jobs, then I could understand what you're saying. But I believe, like 99.99% sure, I'm said, I don't know what kind of jobs you have. I never said so. To twist it into something where they're claiming I said they didn't have jobs, that is a complete manipulation. And I will not apologize for what I said in that aspect. I was careful with my wording.
Okay.
They took my wording and they manipulated it into something else. So I won't apologize for what they did.
Be it as it may.
I understand impact over intention. And had I said, I don't know if you guys have jobs, I would be right there with you. But that's not what I said.
But, okay, be it as it may. When you say something like that to a Black person, based on the life that we have lived, you know, that is what you need to understand. That is considered an attack. That is considered shade. And this is the part that I think that you're missing. I understand your intent,
Sure.
but I really want you to understand the impact of what you said. Because as Black people, we don't take things the same way as other races. So what I need for you to understand, and what I need for you to open up your mind and open up your heart to get, is that what you said about us having jobs and things of that nature, we have heard that in all different forms throughout our life. So when you said that, just the fact of you bringing up us, just give me a moment. If you can understand and try to put yourself in my shoes as a Black woman, okay? And I know that's hard to do, but when you say things like that, it every single time is gonna cause for us to go off.
Okay.
It is.
I'm gonna ask you to give me a chance to respond, please.
Absolutely.
Okay. So first of all, you keep saying when you say things like that, and again, I understand what you're saying, and I'm trying to, when you said to try and look at it from this aspect, that's something that when you ask that, I can definitely try and do that. So I can see that even just hearing the words and maybe missing some of them, or only hearing a few because emotions are high or something, I could see somebody taking it much differently than what was said. I did try to be careful with my words, but I was also in emotions at that time too, because I felt like I was being attacked under certain things too, right? So I get what you're saying, and I'm trying to look at it from a different aspect and a different point of view. And I can understand why some people, especially who already hate me and want to think things about me, would especially take it the wrong way.
Or take yourself out of the equation.
Or take it in a way but I mean, that you have to admit that comes into play, because who they're receiving the message from definitely comes into play. And I'm somebody that, to them, I'm an older white man that they don't know. That's just the reality of it. I don't take offense to that. I'm not like that. I get what you're saying. I have to try and look at it as like, okay, already there's the oppressor, right? So
and you have to check the oppressor within.
So that's what I'm saying.
You have to check the oppressor within when you have these conversations. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay.
I'm sorry.
So I'm looking at it. I'm trying to look at it from, like you said, your perspective. Now, even no matter what, as careful as I'm trying to be and all that, I see what you're saying. So I could understand how there are misunderstandings on both sides. But again, you're right as far as the level of maturity. I really don't know. To me, pinup, I would consider somebody over 25. I would consider somebody that, like, I know this might sound weird, but I would look at her as like an equal on that aspect, because I don't know if you were in here before when I said I don't use that mentality of respect your elders because we might have had more experiences some ways than others. Like, iCreep could have a lot more experiences on a lot of things. Guarantee you she has a lot more experience as being a Black woman that I have no experience in. Like,
I understand what you're saying.
You know what I mean? She can teach me just as much as anybody else. And I don't feel that it's my place, especially as an old white man, to try and teach any person of color.
It is your place. It is your
Well,
place.
I think a lot of people would disagree with you as far as teaching. Like, I don't think it is, but I do think that I take everything you're saying and I'm listening to it and I hear you and I'm looking at it from trying to look at things from your perspective. And I could see how I would automatically feel hearing any of those words combined and maybe even missing a lot of them because there's already that experience in life, right? So I understand that. And for anybody that was in there that, if I worded that wrong and like I said, I tried my hardest to say it the proper way to basically get the message across that I wanted to continue later. And I had to make up any time I was taking away. And I didn't want to make this too late. I already made this 8:00 tonight because of how much I had to work later.
I understand.
On the same token, while I agree with what you're saying, I can be responsible for what I say. I can't be responsible for what people want to hear, especially when they're taking what I said, not asking me about it, but manipulating it into something completely different. I don't have respect for that. So there can be misunderstandings. And I do understand what you're saying, and there can be misunderstandings. But when they're purposely being manipulative and rewording multiple things, set narratives, I don't have any respect for that. And you and I can agree to disagree on our opinions of eye creep.
Absolutely.
And that's where I let it lie with her in that aspect. I feel like she got a lot of people's emotions riled up off of playing that manipulative game. She maybe didn't do it intentionally. Maybe she was caught up in her emotions. Maybe it's age, something, I don't know. But whatever her reason,
she's very smart. I don't think it was her age.
Well, I mean, being smart, very smart people are often manipulative sometimes too, sadly. I mean, one doesn't have anything to do with another. I think smart people can be manipulative. I don't know why. I really don't know why. I really don't.
Well, okay, so let me say this to believe the victim. I'm not saying that he has to teach us black folk, but if he can learn and teach others of non-black people, then that's what I'm saying. That's first and foremost. So that's, well, hold on, Joe. Let me, first of all, I was just addressing a comment. Yeah, first and foremost. But what I really want to say to you is that, what I want you to understand is that you did come into Pinup's live.
She asked me to. Right, she asked me to come up in there.
You said some things that, as a black woman, the context that you said it in, even though the intent, it wasn't your intent. I'm going to give you that, okay? Even though it wasn't your intent, there were some things that you said in that live that triggered us as not only black people, but black women. And I want that to sit, I want you to sit on that. Okay. Another thing, not everything is a direct personal attack on you. As a black woman at 44 years old, I've been through some things. I've seen it all 1,000 million times. You don't live the life that I live, right?
Nobody lives the life anybody lives. Well, and I get what you're saying. I want you to
specifically understand, as you being a 55, 54-year-old white person, you don't live the life as a black woman, okay? And you have to understand that different cultures take things differently. So we really have to be mindful, and we really have to be respectful of what we say. And when someone corrects you, Joe, don't take it as an attack. Just take it as information for you to be better. Take it as information for you to be better. We may be in our feelings or whatever the case, but you got to put all of that to the side. Take it as a teaching moment. You did say some things. I'm going to wait for him to come back. Can you hear me, Joe?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You did say some things that was very, and you may not think so, and that's okay if you don't think so. I hope you learn. I hope you educate. Learn is not. I hope you educate yourself. Okay, to the point to where you understand why every Black person in that life got upset.
I do understand what you're saying regarding that. Okay, I'd like it. I'd just like a chance to respond to some of the things you're saying.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay. I do understand. I do understand what you're saying regarding that. As I've said, I think sometimes when I like, just like the other day in Moses' live, okay, I told, and I brought this word up for a reason. I told every single person in there I was not going to call them this, but I said that.
I was in Moses live. I saw it all.
Hold on. So then you heard me say, okay, I'm going to respect you all, and I'm not going to call you that. But it's just a word. And you heard him ask me the question and how I preface it then. And I said, okay, if I'm going to answer this, like, don't get mad at me for answering that. Do you see how I was talking with you earlier and explained earlier about how basically what I said was completely twisted to the point where I answered a question about a demographic and people thought that I was calling them something, and I never called any single one person that except for myself. I said, I will respect you. And I said, I will respect you all and not call you any of that. And people twisted the narrative into, you're doubling down. I never doubled down. But people were hearing what they wanted to hear so much, it got to the point when, even though I said a heterosexual, cisgendered male, probably white, there were people that heard Black woman in that. And I never even said that. And I got told that I was addressing and addressed and discredited Black women. And I'm like, no, you had to listen to what I said. I never even said woman, and I said probably white man. So my whole point was, I think sometimes people do hear what they want to hear. And I completely understand what you're saying as much as I can as a white man, right?
Right.
So I understand what you're saying, and impact over intention. I understand that too. As far as what can I do to move forward? I can't, like, we can rehash this, and I see there's
let's have a conversation about it.
Yeah, and I see there's somebody else that's wanting to come up, and I just want to say I will totally, I don't know if you were in here earlier, but what I told everybody is I want to address one person at a time. So when Sherry Marie's done with her questions, I'll definitely bring you up, and then when you come up, I just want to address one question at a time, because I don't want to lose train of thought of something when I've got it in my head. So I just ask people to give me the chance to respond to some things when I'm trying to, and then we can move on. But
that's neurodivergent. I think you are neurodivergent, and I'm giving you that space. I just want you to recognize that.
No, I appreciate it. And a lot of people that, like I said, my doctor said I basically took the test that he would give me anyway, but it is what it is.
Can I, before you continue,
Yeah,
can
go
I
ahead.
say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Us as Black people, and you were in Moses Live, you were in a Black space, okay? And I don't know any way else to say it. When Black folks are in a Black space, we don't care what happens to white folks. We don't care what happens to Australians, Europeans. We don't care. We are talking about us and us only, okay? So when they said they were speaking as a Black woman, you were in a Black space and we were speaking from a Black experience, okay? Because that's all we do. And when it comes to the term cisgender, I personally do not think cisgender is a slur. I do not think there's anything wrong with the term cisgender. For the women that want to be called cisgender, let them be called cisgender. But, and me being part of the community, okay, knowing how I am and knowing my personality, if I do not want to be called cisgender, then respect that. It's not a slur to me. I know what it means. I know the scientific definition of it.
Sheree, you
You
want to
know,
hear something funny?
we're not dumb, but you know, it's not a preference of mine.
You want to hear something funny though? And okay, so first of all, I'll address what I was going to say, and then I got to
Go
address the
ahead.
comment. Okay, so ask anybody to show you where I've called them cisgendered. I've only called myself
This
that.
isn't a personal attack on you.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is, you're telling me that I have to respect that. Blah blah blah. Maybe you're speaking. Maybe you're saying you in a general term.
I am.
Okay, so that's a big difference then. So
Yeah, I'm speaking
sometimes.
collectively, not individually.
Okay. Well, that makes a huge difference, and sometimes I have to clarify that too. They had to address you, Joe. You can't speak on blacks, is a comment that I just read. So I don't even know how to respond to that because I'm not trying to speak on blacks. And like I'm not. Here's the thing.
Can you please not call us blacks? Just call us black people.
Yes, I agree with you, but I'm repeating the comment. So, and I didn't know that was offensive to you because some people it is, some people it isn't. So, last thing I want to do is offend anybody.
I get it.
So, I wasn't, and you're right. I should have caught myself and repeated it differently. So I apologize to everybody in this room for that. I don't like to. Somebody said earlier, I want to address this too, because I put this out again. It was the message from Kane Allen, and I'm going to repeat this. That message that he used that screenshot from came from somebody named Brandon, who I'm now friends with. He was part of Kane Allen's group, but after he talked with me and saw proof about a lot of the stuff that people were lying about, he apologized to me, and he knew that that was a question that I had asked him. But Kane Allen manipulated it and put it out there as if I said the N-word was, like, tried to make it seem like I was saying something was okay that I said was not. And I was clearly saying that it wasn't okay and saying to him in a question, like, really, you just think it's a word? And Kane turned that and took it and manipulated that. You know what I mean? And then for iCreep to come along and share that message from Kane, out of all people, the person that I exposed for doing a fraudulent GoFundMe while he was literally targeting my friend, which a lot of people don't even know about that and how that started, right? So, I mean, on the same token, I hope people can understand, like I said earlier, that humans in general, I try to, like, I do look at us all as humans. I understand what you're saying. I know that black people are targeted 3 to 4 times more by police. I know that they go through systemic oppression. I agree, like I said earlier, with probably the majority of the talking points that you guys may not even think that I do agree on, and I do. But to negate other people's experiences when they're not comparing and to say that they are, or when other people are just sharing their experiences and to say, oh, you sharing your experience takes away from my experience, which I've had a lot of people do. I'm not saying you are, but I've had a lot of people do that. That's not appropriate to anybody, especially other people that are also targeted for multiple reasons. Like I said, when I was 21, I came out to my mom because I had a pew-pew put to my head outside of like one of the first clubs that I used to go to.
And I'm so sorry about that.
You know, and that's the whole reason I came out to my family, and the ostracization I got from my family at that time, back in the mid 80s, late 80s, in a red town with machismo family. Like you know, there was almost a decade I didn't talk to my dad. You know, there was a lot of things. There's a lot of things people don't understand, because from this aspect too, and I'm not comparing, I'm just saying, don't negate me or my friend that was taken out of this world either, because I have too many people doing that. And when people do that, and then they're demanding all this respect from me as after they have first been extremely disrespectful to me, and then gaslighting me and say, don't ask us for respect when you're not giving it in return. I'm like, wait a minute, look at where the disrespect started at. Look at where it started at, for on an individual basis I'm talking about, right? So a lot of things people don't understand from this is, like, we get ostracized from our families a lot of times, where at least most people get family support. So if anything, as a gay man, one thing I have learned to do is survive and be successful on my own, depending on myself and nobody else. And I understand there's also a lot of people in this world that have had that experience for multiple different experiences too. It's
I
just
will, Lil Bill. Can you unblock Dominican and Black Goddess, please?
I didn't
Because they
think
would like to speak to you.
I
Do you
didn't
mind
think
doing that?
no, yeah, not at all. I didn't think I had Dominican blocked. So let me go
Okay.
back. Hold on.
If you can do that, please, then that would be great.
Did they change their screen names recently?
It might be Dominican Lil Bill or something of that nature. Just kind of look for a variation of their name.
Ask Dominican to make sure that she didn't block me.
No, she didn't block you. But I want you to understand, and this is, you know, even as old folks, right? Even as Gen X, right? We still have opportunity and room to learn about other cultures, other races, and other nationalities, other ethnicities, right? We have that room. And in my opinion, and like I said, I am not trying to be offensive, Joe, but I think for you, you take the first emotion that you feel is of offense, and you take things as a personal attack. And everything that I've seen you in many, many, many of lives. I've seen you in Moses Live. I've seen you in Pinups Live. But
wait a minute.
One thing that I have noticed about you, and I just want you to hear me out, and I want you to kind of sit on it tonight and think about it and open yourself up to it. You know, you have to understand that in my culture, being Black is way, especially being a Black woman, is way, way different from being a white male. You are at the top of the totem pole. I am at the bottom. And
I'm not at the top. I understand what you're saying.
If you could please just give me a moment to finish. You're talking with someone that has a house. You're talking with someone that has cars. I am a member of the C-suite, and you know what the C-suite is.
I don't.
You know, I'm very successful.
I don't.
So this
I don't
is
know what the
I have
C-suite
learned.
is.
And I have learned the skills to talk to you and actually have a positive dialogue with you, right? But I want you to understand that, Joe, sometimes the things that you do and the things that you say is offensive. And this is why, and don't take offense to that. Ask yourself why. And ask yourself what I can do to be a better version of Joe. What can I do
so
to grow?
Cherie, if you don't think that I ask myself those questions every single day and try to, at this point, I'm going to ask, if you don't mind, I'd like to give somebody else a chance to come up. I appreciate the dialogue. But it's starting to feel more like a continued, like this has been going on for a long time. And it is starting to feel like a lecture and and I'm not trying to say that your points aren't valid, so I don't want that to be misunderstood. It's that you can only drive them home so long. I hear what you're saying. I actually do question myself that every day. I'm going to be honest. I just blocked Believe the Victim because, first of all, I don't even know if that's really the same one that's been around because they have very few followers. And I know there's a lot of people that make up accounts to look like others just to come and troll me. Two, like, it doesn't negate the fact that my words have been twisted multiple times, and I'm not going to allow anybody to do that to me. I am still a human being. I am still somebody that has feelings and emotions, and I understand what you're saying, but on the same token, my feelings are constantly invalidated. Not that anybody gives a shit. I really don't care if people like my feelings or not, or or not. So,
I hope you don't feel that I invalidated your feelings.
Honestly, I don't feel like you do, but on the same token, as much as people want people to listen to them, they don't listen to people from other communities when we are trying to educate them. And I would say maybe people should stop and look in the mirror before they're judging other people, because there's a lot, not you, I'm just saying in general, like some of the comments are what's getting me personal on this way. Not necessarily you, Jerry Murray. I just want you to be understanding about that.
No, I get it.
So, maybe people should stop and take a look in the mirror, because there's a lot of judgment coming from a lot of people that are living in glass houses, and a lot of people may not even realize it, because, as I said earlier, like even I creep at 19 years old. I feel like I could learn from her. She's probably got a lot of life experiences. For me, with her in particular, it was the manipulation of too many times with too many words that I've said and too many things manipulated in a way to target me. And if you've only been in a few recent lives and you haven't seen me in Blaze's and other people's, Granny Coy's or anybody's and whatnot, then you've probably only gotten a recent experience, which over the past
we've been, I've been following you for a while, and this
Okay,
is, I want to
let me finish, please.
Okay, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
please,
I'm so sorry.
please.
I'm sorry.
Because I do feel, honestly, I mean, I appreciate the way you're talking with me, but a lot of times I do feel like even in my own space, I'm not even allowed to be comfortable in my own space, which isn't going to happen. I'm not going to allow people to do that to me. And you know what I mean? Like, this is my safe haven. If, like I said before, if you think that I don't question things, I do. And I will take everything that you said and really think about it, because you've been super respectful and kind. And that's something that a lot of people, when I try to talk to them about the word cisgender, and a lot of people will come back and say, thank you for giving us a safe space to talk about it, because you didn't make me feel like belittled, you didn't force it, you didn't repeat it. But there are a lot of other people that don't give a shit.
I got one thing to say, Pinup.
I'm not comparing the two. Go ahead. I just lost my train of thought.
No, I'm sorry that you lost your train of thought. I understand, but what I want you to, my last parting words before I drop, is that instead of looking at things as an attack, sometimes we have to look at things as correction and education.
I do get that.
And my goal was to give you some sort of education, and like I said, you will never have the Black experience. You will never know what it is to be and feel like us. So when we speak, no matter if we're speaking calmly or aggressively, because we do have passion, I want you to learn something from each person that you come across. Sit on it, think about it. And sometimes even myself, I have to self-check myself. And when I really look at the grand scheme of things, when I'm looking at the bigger picture, and I'm quite sure at your job, they talk about the bigger picture, right? So you have to look at things as the bigger picture and not take things so personally. But what I've seen a lot that's happened over the last few days was not people attacking you, but people giving you their truth and some sort of correction. And that is not a bad thing. So with that being said, I appreciate the conversation.
I just want to respond to that really quick and give you a chance to say something if you want to. And I appreciate you too for saying that. When I use the term attack a lot of times, it's for specific reasons. I welcome constructive criticism, education, all that kind of stuff. And I completely agree with you. I will never know what it's like. And I also take things online. I think people that spend a lot of time online sometimes, or as much as we do, which is a lot compared to a lot of people that don't, and I'm including myself in there, I think sometimes we forget, online life, one, is a lot different than real life, right? That's one. Because of the way people respond to things is different. You might think that I'm being offended when I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Again, somebody's projecting my thoughts or my feelings onto me and not asking me the questions to understand. And when you ask me questions, we have a different dialect than when you're telling me things and assuming. That's what I don't like. Nobody likes to be assumed their thoughts, their feelings, who they are. You know, getting to know each other is much different than telling somebody they are. And I think a lot of people have developed a preconceived notion. And I've also gotten to the point in my life where I'm kind of like, well, I don't give a shit what people think, because in real life, I know who I am, and my friends in real life know who I am. That's what matters to me more than anything. I may not ever meet you now. I'm still going to respect you as a person. You've been super respectful with me. I saw earlier your comments. I saw earlier you engaged in conversations about me, and I was like, okay, whatever. She doesn't know me. I don't know her. That's why you didn't get blocked. I don't really know you. You don't know me. You've been super, super respectful. I will say, though, for anybody, like, I think they also have to realize everything as far as, like, if we could learn from each other, giving respect to each other, it is supposed to be a two-way street. And I think we're all supposed to be on this earth to help protect each other, help each other grow, help each other grow, help each other learn from each other. Like, I fully believe that we're supposed to try and help support each other in life.
And you're right, but you have to open yourself up a little bit more.
I think everybody is, there's always room for improvement for everybody.
Exactly. But you have to open yourself up. And I'm telling you, Joe.
Listen to your language right now, please. And please check your language right now. Please, because I'm asking you respectfully. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you, but you are demanding things of me right now in a way.
It wasn't a demand. It was just a statement.
I understand, but you know, you're not saying things like, I think you should do this. You're like, you have to. And that's what
you have to understand the context. I'm not demanding anything of you. The context of what I'm saying is, I wish you would. And maybe my wording isn't suitable to you.
Let me finish if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Think about how you would feel if I was using the same language back to you, and remember that I'm still a human being, please, because I don't like a lot of the times that the way that people think that they can talk to me just because I'm this or that. You know, I understand I'm a white man. I also understand everything else about me. I'm not just that, and I don't want to be put into a box either, just like people don't want to be called cisgendered. You know, and I'm not comparing the two, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, if you could relate a little bit to being put into a box, being given labels. Everybody's given labels all the time, right? Gay, straight, hetero, whatever, black, white, we're all given these labels. Nobody really wants that. I get that. That's why I tell people, like, I'm not going to call you that. What I'm trying to say overall is, please remember, you know, everybody remember that, yeah, we are all human beings.
We are.
And if we just start also, and I'm not saying that.
Let me topic.
I'm not saying that, you know, I know systemic racism exists. I know that there's a lot of work, like, we all need to do, especially as white people. But I feel like if we can all try to ask questions instead of making assumptions, and remember that we're all human, and maybe judge people off of their behaviors, their actions, their words, and not get caught up on maybe discounting a life, whether it be still here or not, because they weren't something. Because I've seen a lot of people using my friend who was taken out of this world by police as a toy or as a tool to get back at me. And iCreep did that today too. I'm sorry. When she's sitting there talking about my friend that has nothing to do with anything, and she's saying, I looked into it, this and that, and she's bringing it up in lives to discuss it as a way to get back at me or whatever. First of all, that's not your friend. That's not your victim. That's not somebody you knew or anything about that. To talk about it so disrespectfully like that.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and drop. Everyone is asking me to drop, but I'm going to leave with one thing. You know, when I said, please open yourself up more, that wasn't a command, that wasn't a direct whatever. You know, if you have to understand how Black people talk, and if you would take it into context, it's a hope of mine that you would. And like I said, I want you to grow. I want you to, become a better person. And we all can be better. We all can be better.
Okay, I
But
appreciate you
it's not,
sharing
it
it, and I
wasn't,
will.
I don't want you to take it as such. But I just wish that you will open yourself up more, and it's a hard thing to do. We
Sheree, I
have to
wish
look
everybody
within.
will. I
And I'm
wish
gonna go
everybody
ahead
would
and drop
open up
out the
more.
box on that note, okay?
I
So
wish
I'm gonna let
everybody.
Dominican come up.
I want to say I do wish everybody would open up a little bit more and again ask questions instead of making assumptions and have more dialogue. Again, asking questions, not making assumptions. First of all, again, I was trying to say earlier, believe the victim. I blocked because they're like caps, they're repeating themselves. It's troll behavior, in my opinion. I don't have Dominican and I don't think I have Black Goddess blocked. So before I bring up the next person, I'm going to say, because of how long that went, I just want to be fair to anybody else that has questions, and it's already 10:30 at night here, so I know it's 11, 12, 1:30 in the morning other places. I'm going to limit each person, if that's okay, to like 15 minutes each to ask me questions or whatnot. Ask one question, I'll answer it, and then we can move on to the next one. But give me a chance, please, to respond to things, because that does cause angst for me when I don't get a chance to respond to something somebody's saying, especially if they're making statements that aren't correct about something I said and putting out a false narrative. Nobody likes that, and we all saw that in Moses' live the other day. So I'm going to bring up the next person. Dominican, you weren't blocked. You were not blocked. I'm sorry. I don't know why people were yelling at me to unblock you. I didn't even realize that was you waiting. I'm sorry. I was
Hey,
literally looking to make sure that you weren't blocked, and I was making the person waiting to come up wait, and somebody else was waiting before you. So I'm sorry to make you wait.
no, it's cool, it's cool. I got a question, right?
Okay.
So, um, what race do you consider me as, Joe? I want to ask that.
I would say Dominican since that's in your name, but I
It's
don't
not
know
a
that for
race.
sure.
It's
So
that's
that
my
would be
ethnicity.
Latino.
I'm black. I'm a black
So
woman.
you're Afro Latino, or you're just
No,
black
I'm
woman?
black. I'm
Okay.
black. So
Okay.
my thing is, you had sent me a message, right? Through the DMs and whatever. And my thing is, I was in that live too, Joe. You were gaslighting her. I'm gonna protect her. She's a black woman.
So
I did not
okay.
like what I seen. I did
So
not like what I seen.
time out for a second, please, because I asked you to let me address things if you don't mind. Okay. So you asked me right off the bat what race I would consider you. I would consider you first and foremost the human race, but I wanted to ask you and give you a consideration of like, I don't know, I don't want to make